Good afternoon, everybody. Today is the 2 o'clock, November 4th, 2023 regular meeting of the West Turlock Subbasin GSA Technical Committee, as well as the East Turlock Subbasin GSA Technical Advisory Committee as a joint agency. We are in person, obviously, but we have a online option. Kind of stalling because I'm looking to call the meeting to order for the West Turlock. I only see 5 members so far. I don't see 7. I can't call the meeting, at least for the West Turlock GSA meeting, to order. I can't take any action items. But Sarah, I can hand to you East Turlock GSA and you can call your meeting to order.
No problem. I'll speak slowly as people start to flow in from your side. But I can call the East Turlock Subbasin GSA TAC meeting to order because we have 4 members here. We have Dennis Yetskoa, Lacey McBride, and Christy is here, and myself, Sarah Wolf. So we have 4. With that, we have a quorum.
And West Turlock GSA members, would you like to introduce yourself? We'll start over with Mike on the far side.
Mike Picklock, City of Waterford, representing Hickman.
Leandro Maldonado, Delhi County Water District.
Debbie Montalbano with the Turlock Irrigation District.
I'm Christy McKinnon with Stanislaus County.
Lacey McBride, Merced County.
Juan Pachola, City of Modesto.
And Michael Cook with TID. So 6 of us right now. So we're getting closer. But not quite there yet. Hey, the first item on the agenda is public participation. This is the time set aside for members of the public to directly address the Turlock Subbasin GSAs on any item of interest to the public that is within our subject matter jurisdiction. If you have an item on the agenda, you can speak to that when that item is called, or you can speak now on any item of interest. With that, is there any public participation? Hey, hearing none, we'll move on to item 4, which is the adoption of the minutes from the October 10th, 2023 regular meeting. The West Turlock has no quorum, so we can't take action. So over to you, Sarah, for the East Turlock.
Okay, so for East Turlock, we'd like to approve the minutes from October 10th, which I believe were emailed out to everyone and in the packet today. So can I get a motion to approve those minutes?
Make the motion.
Thank you, Christy.
I'll second.
Lacey, thank you. All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Motion is carried. We have approved the East Turlock minutes from October 10th.
Thank you, Sarah. And I really forgot that the people online to encourage you to introduce yourselves, and Jennifer's participating remotely. So you want to go around and introduce yourselves online if you'd like to, Jennifer.
Thank you, Michael. Jennifer Land, TID.
And Matt Beeman. And Joanna.
Hi, I'm Joanna Sharameta with the East Stanislaus RCD.
Welcome. And Matt Beeman is with Merced Irrigation District, right?
Matt Beeman's from Merced Irrigation District,
Right.
sorry.
Yeah. Right, that's the whole gang. Moving on to item number 5, budget update, overview of revenues and expenditures for the West Turlock Subbasin, East Turlock Subbasin, as well as the joint account. So maybe we start with you, Michael, for the West Turlock.
Sure. We started October with $1,148,449.77. We deposited $28,210.06, leaving us with a balance of $1,176,659.80.83. Then for the basin account, we had a balance of $840,851.54. Ending October 31st.
That's great, Michael. Appreciate it. Sarah, any questions for Michael on the budget? What do you, Sarah, for East Turlock?
Okay, for East Turlock, we just had an update this morning. So our balance as of October 31st was $438,875.95. We approved checks today for $72,804.33, leaving us with a proposed balance at the end of November of $366,023.62.
Thank you very much. Any questions for Sarah on her budget update? Okay, hearing none, The next two items are action items by the West Turlock GSA to prepare the annual report and a task order for the review and analysis of the water level measurements. Obviously, we can't take action, but Debbie, do you just want to just go over those real quickly?
Sure. So
Number 6, the annual report.
yes, number 6, the annual report. Each year, the GSAs are required to submit an annual report on the previous water year and the activities and the conditions and all of that. And so this will be our third annual report. And it would cover the year from water year of let's see, October 2022 through September 2023. And the scope of work is very similar to what we've seen historically. The only difference is that as we've talked about a few times, and as is included in the next item, we've moved the water level measurement analysis to a separate task so that we can get that information sooner and work our way through it. So that has been budgeted as another item. And that information is actually being developed now and will be coming to you earlier. And so we'll be working through the data in January, February, and then the annual report March. And so the schedule is shifted slightly this year to enable it to come to you in pieces as opposed to all at once, which I think is a more manageable way of doing it. And so that's how it's the scope has changed slightly. That and since it's not our first rodeo, so to speak, we've reduced some of the meetings on the planning group side to help conserve funds. So there's changes as well. So
Hey, Debbie, I don't mean to cut you off, but
oh, we have another person? Oh,
let's join the meeting, so we now have a quorum.
yes. Hi, Curtis. So we are on the item to approve or consider approving the scope of work for the annual report. And I was just talking about the changes to the scope. They're minor, just a timing issue, and that we're contracting separately for the water level measurement work. And the total cost would be $135,410 that would be split jointly between the two GSAs. And we plan to bring the water level measurement information to the tax in January. Then we'll review the water quality data and information and analysis that goes into the annual report in February. And then in March, we'll review the rest of the information in the water budget and sustainability criteria and all of that. So that's the plan. We would ask that the TAC consider approving contracting for the West Turlock Subbasin GSA's portion of the cost. It's essentially about half of the $135,000 to allow for that work to move forward.
Any questions for Debbie? Debbie, is that half of the 135, is that within our budget that was planned for?
It's the estimate is a little more than what we initially budgeted for, but there is additional funds with a couple other things. And so I think we're within budget overall.
Okay. Any other questions for Debbie? Also, with that, it asks that we get a motion to authorize the West Turlock TAC chair to initiate a task order for Todd Groundwater to prepare the annual report for April 1, 2020. A motion to that effect?
I'll make that motion, Michael.
Thank you, Curtis. Looks like Leandro wants to second it.
Yes.
Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
Okay, that motion stands approved. If we could, let's take this one out of order. Let's go back to,
If I just add.
oh, sorry, go ahead, Sarah, my bad.
I just want to clarify for the record that East Turlock has a little bit different process of approving these. We approve this in our budget at the board level at the beginning of the year for this expenditure. And being that it's coming in a little bit late or a little bit above what the budgeted number was. We have let the board know that they're aware that we're moving forward with this and that we will come back and probably use reserves to cover that cost. But our board has also approved this in previous action.
That's wonderful. Thanks very much. We can get that done and stay in compliance with the Sigma. If you'd indulge me, let's go back to item number 4, meeting minutes. It's overall the minutes for the West Turlock Subbasin Technical Advisory Committee for October 10th. Minutes were mailed out earlier or late last week. Any changes to those minutes, or do we have a motion to approve?
All motion.
And a motion by Leandro, a second by Mike. Any further discussion? Those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, motion stands approved. Let's go back then to item number 7, which is a task order for the review and analysis of water level measurements. This is for Todd Groundwater to review and analyze the full 2023 water level measurements. Debbie.
Michael. This task order would, as Michael indicated, authorize the review and the preparation of hydrographs and contour maps to evaluate the water level measurements that were actually or are being gathered right now. So this would be for the fall of 2023. And so that will enable us to add that information into the data that's being analyzed right now for the annual report. And then we can bring that back to you guys. Hopefully, the goal is to have it all kind of to look at it in January. If not, it'll come shortly thereafter. But the idea here is to take a look at that data and understand the data before we actually submit it to DWR, so we can identify any glitches there might be and that sort of thing and resolve them upfront rather than trying to do it after the fact. And so I think it's a better approach. The costs are consistent with what we've seen in the past.
Good.
Any questions?
Debbie? On the measurements, Debbie, we all kind of committed to get them done the first 2 weeks of November.
Yes.
I know TID got ours done. I don't know how everybody else is doing, and do we need to?
I have not heard yet from the urban side. I know Miguel was coordinating with the various entities about gathering that data. So I will follow up with him.
So on ETS GSA, we got them all done except we had one farm, that had a bunch of running pumps. And they weren't actually going to turn them off until tomorrow. So Darylyn asked, should she go ahead and go out there and measure them? And I told her, go ahead.
Mhm.
It's a couple of days later, and but these are the Sigma wells. Our RMS wells were all measured within the designated time period. So I thought, well, it'd be helpful to have that additional Sigma data for those wells. So
Agreed.
they're this close to being
Okay, sounds great. Thank you.
I don't think a few days will make a big difference.
I don't think, it's better to have the data than to, have a flag that we didn't measure because the pumps were running. So.
Right, yeah, and I haven't turned off for a while to get a good static. Good. Motion on that? No, we didn't yet.
No.
We can act, so we need to take action on that, authorizing me to sign a task order for Todd to do that 2023 water level measurement work. So with that, take a motion to approve.
Motion so moved.
So we have a motion by Curtis. Thank you, Curtis. You have a second? Second by Mike. Any further discussion? Those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion stands approved.
And Michael, I would just offer same situation as the previous one here, we did it at East Side. In place.
All right, moving on to item number 8, Sigma related updates, where the TAC members discuss and provide updates on issues related to the implementation of Sigma. We have our standard items here. Debbie, any update on the first of the grants and GSP implementation?
No, there's, we're still waiting on the GSP implementation. So likely we'll hear January. Fingers crossed that we get approval. And if we do hear anything between now and then, we'll of course, let everyone know. We've had, some smaller conversations of, well, what approach do we do if we don't get approval, and it's really difficult to plan for that because we just don't know what that looks like. And it's looked different in different subbasins. So we'll really have to, have all hands on deck if we don't get approval in January, because that means that it sets a 180-day timeframe to make any amendments to the GSP. And so I have had conversations with the consultant team, if that's the case, and they're prepared to, work with us to work through whatever we might need. And we do have some on-call consulting dollars in place to kind of get that started right away. So we're kind of in a good place from that perspective. But that's kind of where we are. We're in a holding pattern until we hear. So unfortunately, we're in the last group. Although, I was heartened to see that in October, when they issued the last round of approvals, there were some approvals and there were some that weren't approved. And so they're not necessarily holding everything at the non-approvals until the end, perhaps. I mean, maybe there'll be a mixed group in there as well. So, yeah.
I like to think they're saving the best till last.
I like that.
Eat your vegetables and then save the steak till the end.
Yeah. So we're hopeful there. From a grants perspective, both GSAs work together on a grant application, and I don't know, Mike, if you have any info on the November.
Nothing yet. So
Nothing
this
yet.
is the grant application to the Office of Planning and Research to support a domestic well mitigation plan. And so, yeah, we still have our fingers crossed. We're supposed to hear this month. I've not heard anything.
Okay.
We did submit a letter of support to UC Davis and to the ILRP coalitions for a SIG. I can't remember what it's an on-farm conservation innovation grant.
Okay.
And they had told me separately that there was a farm near Denair that volunteered for being instrumented for some irrigation improvements. So I don't know which farm it is, but we can find out and hopefully they'll be awarded that grant.
Okay, that would be helpful. Yeah. The other thing I did want to mention is for the annual report that was just authorized for moving forward on the scope. The timeline scheduled so that data is due by the end of this month, beginning of December, to be able to move it forward. So we're going to be sending out the data requests very soon, but please be aware. And it's going to be the same format and the same information that has been sent out the past 2 years. So it should be familiar, and you could just use that as a starting point in kind of gathering that information. But I wanted to make everybody aware of that as well.
Back to anything, the multi-benefit land repurposing grant, there's a tour, or there was a tour?
Yeah, so, Lacey was contacted by, the statewide support entity to put together a legislative tour, and we collaborated with her on that. You want to give that report?
Sure. So they contacted us wanting to give examples of what the MLRP program could do to some legislative staff who are working on the climate bond, which has potential funding for the MLRP program in it. So we had a good group of legislative staff, the legislative analyst office staff, and some officials from the Department of Conservation. We started in the Merced Subbasin at the Merced Refuge. Then we went and visited a project that's a habitat floodplain restoration ag conversion project also in the Merced Subbasin. And then we came up into the Turlock Subbasin and visited the Burroughs Farm for looking at regenerative agriculture and some of those working lands activities that MLRP could support. At the most on our stops, we had about 33 people. So it was a really big tour. And that's all sorts of people, not just Sacramento folks, but it was really good. I think they got a good understanding of all of the different options that MLRP could fund for repurposing. So repurposing isn't just habitat. It includes all of these other kind of working farms, working lands projects as well.
Good. Questions for Lacey on that? I have one update. I'm working with a TID staffer on our next kind of slew of dedicated monitoring wells. So we're just tidying up the specific locations, prioritizing locations. Another plants, they're a couple years old, and we'll get that right out the bid in the new year. I do need help from my counterparts like the counties and some of the cities. Our goal is to site the monitoring wells on public lands. So sometimes it's a rural road kind of on the edge of the pavement, so we're gonna need encroachment from that. Obviously well permits, and then I think some of them are located in either like city parks or well sites or other kind of public properties. So I'll be hitting up some of you guys to help us enter into agreements, access agreements or whatever we're gonna need with your specific entities. Last time trying to get these on private land was a little bit tricky, and focusing on rights of way and public property is a little bit easier. I think as rural members, and so it's all on our benefit. It's kind of like an in-kind contribution you can make to the GSA. So just so you know, in the work on that probably in the new year or December of the new year. And so expect a phone call or email from me or Mike Nemi here at TID on that.
Just one more thing real quick on MLRP. So the statewide support entity is setting up a field trip to, I think it's Carpentera Creek. And I don't know if you're able to make it, Debbie, but that's to look at an example site. We did meet with East Stanislaus RCD and East Merced RCD after our tour. So we had kind of a nice preliminary meeting talking about roles and ideas. And so what we plan on doing is getting as many of our contracts with our different participants and contractors and partner agencies in place as we can for approval at our next board meeting in December. I don't know that we're going to get them all done then, and then hopefully get an RFP out to retain a consultant for, to manage the MLRP plan development in January. We're hoping to do that at about the same time as this puts out her RFP, so that, we can kind of consider together the, potential synergies and contractor selection. We're starting to think about, what does a kickoff look like with, to kind of harness the brain power of our team to identify and prioritize different land repurposing strategies that we want to move forward as, kind of a scoping exercise. So I would anticipate that that's probably going to take place sometime in January. I mean, it would be nice to do that over Christmas cookies, but we'll see if we can pull that off. I don't know.
Probably better over eggnog.
That's Maybe on New Year's.
Are
Yeah,
those deep or shallow wells that you guys gonna be?
a little bit of both.
Oh,
So
big.
some are dual monitoring wells, I think, right, Debbie, upper and lower in the same location.
A significant number are paired monitoring wells if it's within the area of the Corcoran clay. So it would be both the upper and the lower aquifer right next to each other. That's one of the significant data gaps that we have within the subbasin. And so we have quite a few of those. And then the next step would be, and there's, if it's to the east of the Corcoran clay, then it'd just be a single well. And
I was
then,
gonna say, so when we were doing them at Eastern San Joaquin, when I was at San Joaquin County, we had installed, it was up to 10 wells under, Prop 68, and then we had under Prop 1, some Delta wells, we got, I think it was like 500,000 or so. We had done for this. But biggest thing was the rigs, the availability of the rigs, you know, for the shallow, they're more available, whereas the deeper ones are just something to keep in mind, put some
Good to
feelers
know.
out there.
hopefully not being in a drought, there's a few more wells that are available. I know with the first time we did this, getting a well driller was really, really tricky.
Yeah.
Good advice. Any other Sigma or groundwater related update? Anybody, anything from anybody online?
So Michael, I don't want to put a kink into the meeting at this point.
Just did.
I totally did, but I just want to make sure that our efforts don't go unnoticed and that we don't have to redo the meeting for any reason. And so I Member Juritzma, I hate to put you on the spot as well, but because we had not noticed that he was going to be participating remotely, we do, however, have the ability either for what they consider emergency type or just cause reasons for a member to participate remotely without the address having been listed on the agenda.
Sorry, that's Curtis. He's blowing his nose.
Oh.
He's sick.
Okay, well, there we go. And I definitely don't, so it requires you to provide just a very brief disclosure of the reason why you're participating remotely and weren't able to be there in person. And then it also asks you to disclose whether there are any adults 18 years or older that are participating in the room with you. It also requests that you turn on your video, but because I am not turning on my video either, I'm not going to ask you to do that. So just cause would be for caregiving for certain family members, whether you have a contagious illness, if you have a physical or mental disability, or you're traveling while on official business. And so you don't have to provide a very in-depth description, but if you would just be able to confirm that that's one of the reasons why you're unable to participate in person today, then I say we're good to go.
You will have that email later today, Jennifer.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. And like I said, I'm sorry for doing that so late in the meeting, but because this is a relatively new update to the teleconferencing laws, I had to research that as we were going. So thank you for letting me interrupt, and thank you very much for Member Juritzma for confirming that.
Yep, no problem at all.
And thanks for keeping us on the straight and narrow, Jennifer. I forgot about the changes in the.
That's all right. There have been quite a few. So, and we don't have to exercise them all that often. So this is an opportunity to just keep us on our toes. So this is good.
We have a number of witnesses too, so I think we're in good shape.
Perfect.
All right, so with that, moving on to number 9, our next regular meeting of our Joint Technical Advisory Committee is scheduled for Tuesday, December 12th at 2 p.m. Right before Christmas there. And just an FYI to members, Thursday was supposed to be a West Turlock Subbasin meeting. That meeting was canceled due to items. So there's no board meeting this Thursday. So with that, I'll take a motion for the West Turlock for adjournment.
Motion.
By Leandro, do you have a second? Second by Michael. Those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And we are adjourned at 2:29. Sarah?
Can I get a motion to adjourn this for that?
I'll move.
Dennis, thank you. Second, Lacey, thank you. All those in favor?
Bye.
Motion carries, and at 2:29, we adjourn. Yes,
Hey, thanks, everybody.
Again. Likewise.